We are now starting our special event for enterprises hosted by SoftBank Corp, OAI Japan GK, SoftBank Group Corp, and OpenAI. In the beginning, we have some opening remarks from the Representative Director, Corporate Officer, Chairman, and CEO, Mr. Masayoshi Son from the SoftBank Group Corp. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for convening amidst your very busy schedules today. And I really appreciate the fact that all of you were able to come amidst a very short notice. So we have these top-level Japanese corporations in one room today, and it is such an honor. So this is a session that was first held in an emergency. I mean, why was it so? Because I think for Japan, it is equivalent to the arrival of the black ships. And in a way you look at it, it might be seen as a moment of some serious concern. I think when we talk about the black ships, we can be reminded of the top-level state-of-the-art technology coming into Japan from overseas, and it really had a revolutionary impact on Japanese society. And at that time, it was the steamboat black ships that was the most advanced technology at that time. And this time, we are talking about the state-of-the-art AI, and we are thinking that this is a crisis right in front of us. So before, I mean, we've been encountering cyber attacks almost every day, and this is where the humans are actually manually making those attacks. So it's like people with bamboo arms making the attacks. But this time we are facing attacks used by AI. I'm not really criticizing the AI per se, but malicious individuals and organizations are now using AI to make those attacks as if they are shooting machine guns at us. And so we are in such an era. And how are we to make a valid defense? That is precisely the theme of what we will be talking about today. So SoftBank Group and OpenAI, both of us, already have a joint venture called OAI. And with this joint venture, we would like to move forward in protecting the society and infrastructure of Japan. And the objective of today's session is to make that announcement. So supposedly we were to have Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, to make the announcement together with me hand in hand. But his second baby has been encountering some health issues, and so he was obliged to cancel the trip. And he was not only planning to visit Japan, but other neighboring countries as well. But he had to cancel his entire trip because of that. And so it is such a pity that he is not able to come. But he has sent us a video message for us. So I would like to share the video message with you before we go any further.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you in Tokyo today. I'm here in the hospital. My daughter came unexpectedly early, but she is doing okay and is the most wonderful thing in the world. I'm grateful to Masa, SoftBank, and everyone involved, including our joint venture partners and the OpenAI team in Japan, for bringing this group together. Cybersecurity is going to be one of the most important applications of advanced AI. Software is becoming more complex, and AI can help find serious vulnerabilities, understand which risks matter most, and fix them before they cause harm. That's the goal behind Daybreak, our vision for cybersecurity, through which we hope to turn the cyber capabilities of frontier intelligence into more resilient software for everyone. We do this by focusing not just on model development, but also collaboration with peers across the public and private sectors to develop the tools necessary to ensure those capabilities can benefit defenders the most. Our collaboration with SoftBank is a great step towards that future. The aim is simple. We want our model's frontier cyber capabilities to help organizations patch systems and solve their most difficult security problems, not just to identify vulnerabilities. Japan is an important company for this work. Its critical infrastructure, financial institutions, enterprises, and technology ecosystem matter not only to Japan, but to the world. And SoftBank has been an exceptional partner in coordinating and distributing the benefits of AI in large, complex environments. Together with SoftBank and SB OAI Japan, we hope to help defenders move faster, strengthen resilience, and make the software people rely on safer. Thank you so much for being here. Again, I'm very sorry to miss it, and I'm excited for what we'll build together.
So in Japan, we have a variety of important infrastructures in Japan, like airports, power plants, banks, financial institutions, communications companies, and a lot of public transportation systems. So these are social infrastructure that are very important to our society. And if the power grid is attacked by cyber attack, then there will be a huge blackout. And of course, all the banks and financial institutions, communication, public transportation will be halted. And other than that, other important social infrastructure uh, is really essential for us to really spend our days in a safe manner. And so when we have cyber attack at threatening our lives, then that would really cause a lot of confusion in our entire society because we will no longer be able to live safely. So the number of cyber attacks is on the rise on a daily basis. So here I put the number of cyber attacks. In 2023, we had 1,100, and in 2025, we have 1,900 such incidents. And these are just the number of average cyber attacks for general businesses. But for major businesses, the number is much bigger. For example, in our case, in the SoftBank company, per month we have 600,000. It's not 2,000 in a month. We have 60,000 every month. And also the reconnaissance activities. This is where the people with malicious minds come in for reconnaissance and surveillance. We have 300 million such cases on a monthly basis. So reconnaissance activities can be done pretty easily, and this can be done quite mechanically. And what really accounts for this kind of mechanical sort of reconnaissance, we will have AI intrusions coming in these numbers, and we are already at such an era. So as I mentioned before, it is no longer an attack made by humans and by bamboo spears. And so if we have several hundreds of millions of cyber attacks on every month, what is going to happen? And it's not only on a vertical basis, but we have horizontal and from all these directions. So they will be coming in with those attacks at the state-of-the-art technologies. And already in the world, we have 1,700 trillion yen worth of damages caused by cyber attacks. And so these are just being attacks done by bamboo spears. And now if this is going to be replaced by AI in the future, then what's going to really happen? So the AI cyber attack by AI, this is going to be much more than the arrival of the black ships that we encountered. And it is going to be affecting every single kind of infrastructure. And those who are capable of staging such cyber attacks, or those who are capable of detecting the cyber attacks, the latest model, we only have this in very limited areas, and the license is provided for limited entities. And with the policy of the U.S. government, it is only to be provided to a specific institution or entity in a specific country, so it's a very limited thing. And in Japan, we only have 3 financial institutions that are eligible. And SoftBank, just by coincidence, has been entrusted. So we are one of them, to be very fortunate. And I think we have about 700 systems in our company, but we should be looking at the risk of how much will be affected and the security holes that we have and the vulnerabilities that we have. Where are those security related holes? We have done such a test in our group. So before we had 50,000 attacks every month, and every single month we had 50,000 attacks, and we were still okay. So that means we were quite resilient in terms of the system that we had constructed. And we were actually boasting this, telling everybody that we were safe and that we were confident about our safety because we've been attacked 50,000 times every month and we were still okay. And in our group, ASCO was subjected to cyber attacks, and for about half a year, they had to suspend their business operations because they were really seriously affected to that level. And so that is a very unfortunate case that we encountered in one of our groups. And given such dangers, SoftBank is being subjected to 50,000 attacks every month. And we were still okay. So we are still confident, but looking at the type of risk by cyber attacks, by AI, we did that test.
So we did the test ourselves, and I was surprised myself. There were 10,000 cases, 10,000 vulnerabilities. SoftBank's system is being attacked 50,000 times per month, and it hasn't fallen yet. But if it's subjected to AI cyber attack, what is the holes, the risk of attack? Well, there's 10,000 vulnerabilities. And there are many Japanese companies that are as large as SoftBanks, financial institutions, utilities, companies with many large systems like ourselves. If among 10,500 vulnerabilities, even if we were to prevent 10,499, if there is one hole, and if they attacked that, then you would collapse. And this is disastrous. Now, Mr. Miyakawa will, after me, explain about the countermeasures. This is a serious crisis. So this is our understanding, and we need to prevent this. In Japan, there are over 3,000 critical infrastructures, financial institutions, power companies, airport, transportation. The society will not withstand if even one of them is attacked. In that sense, SoftBank will put all its capabilities together and leverage the new weapons of OpenAI to defend. We believe that this is our obligation in a sense. So that is why today we want to patch the hole, and we're now offering patching as a service. And defending is not complete just once. You have to repeat defending over and over. So Mr. Miyakawa will explain the details of what we have experienced and the new service that we want to launch. It's a two-step. So first step is diagnosis. Your systems and there's probably hundreds of systems. And maybe you have these systems that are as old as 30 years ago, that was built 30 years ago, and many of them are critical. So how many security holes are there? How many vulnerabilities? You will do screening. This is like health checkup. You will do a thorough diagnosis of vulnerabilities. Step 2, as a result of diagnosis, you know where the holes are, how critical they are they minor, are they medium, are they serious, and you will apply patches. So that's the work we will do. So this is called patching as a service, from diagnosis to patching. As I have been saying from before, in Japan, there are 3,000 critical infrastructure companies. And of course, there's probably hundreds and thousands of companies that probably need to be patched. But we will start off with the companies that have critical infrastructure that the government has designated, and believe that there's about 3,000 or so. So hopefully, by the end of the year, we can start all at once these measures for defense. We need to protect Japan. Let's execute that. Thank you for your support and understanding. Thank you. Then we would like to move on to Mr. Miyakawa, who is the President and CEO of SoftBank Corp. He will explain the details. Hello, everyone. My name is Miyakawa from SoftBank Corp. I feel like this was only a week ago. I believe that we have invited you, but thank you all for coming. We have 130 companies, about 200 people joining in today. And we decided that we will make this announcement only about a week ago. And we have been quickly trying to prepare for this event. So I will explain what we have for you today. So Frontier AI. And these are the words that you actually see on the headlines of the newspapers. So Anthropics and OpenAI, Google. These are the companies that are building frontier AIs. And you have Mythos, and you have 5.5 Cyber. So we're now seeing emergence of frontier AI in cybersecurity. And as Mr. Son explained earlier, we as a telecom company have been implementing appropriate measures. Actually, it's 20th anniversary for SoftBank Mobile. So over the last 20 years, it's not that we have not been exempt from cyber attack. In fact, it's been a constant attack, but they have never broken it because we have a system in place. But if the system, if you apply 5.5 Cyber and identify the vulnerabilities, and we just actually started doing it just out of curiosity. We have a joint venture with OpenAI. So as a first customer, we had the right to be able to use it as a first and foremost. So we have received this at the end of May, and we decided to start this diagnosis from the 2nd of June. And we have implemented different security measures. Everything you can conceive of, everything that's available, we have implemented. But between the systems, we have tried to implement security. And in the hardware, we have implemented systems that would detect behaviors. So this is the defense of the softwares. But we have inspected the vulnerabilities of the system, but we have never really done any deep dive like this. So we decided to do this for the first time. And I want to be very open and candid with you with what we have discovered. So first of all, in terms of SoftBank's system, there's about 1,800, but among that, about 700 of them are the ones that we manage, the source codes. And we have selected the ones that are especially critical and started with that. So in the middle, you see frontier model. We have used OpenAI's GPT 5.5 Cyber, and we also used Codex Security and Codex. So we combined the three to not just discover the vulnerabilities, but to deal with it. And how do we respond to that? So this was an experiment. So we diagnosed vulnerabilities and we received proposal for mediation. So we actually applied patches. So we did all the way to applying the patches. And this is the result. So I said there was 1,800 and 700. The code are managed internally. So this is a system that the data is able to obtain. Now, 1,100 is all the vendors. So for example, as a telecom company, we work with vendors like Ericsson, Nokia, and these large vendors manage their own codes. And so we can only ask them to test it. So we're in the process of requesting them to test it. So I want you to see the breakdown of the 700. So there were 10,500 vulnerabilities that were discovered, and about a quarter of that, so 4,000, needed to be patched right away.
So that is what we analyzed. So now we are making that correction right now. And so given this kind of flow, just to share with you some of what we had experienced in this kind of flow. So this slide is pretty interesting because it's not something that everybody else had done. And so we have these two systems, and we have the both 22 items. So we did not just do this in one system. So in one system for the first time, we did the vulnerability test, and we had 22 vulnerability cases. And then, so we patched every single one of them and made the right kind of corrections. And then once again, after they were corrected, we tested once again, and then we still had 11 vulnerability detected. And after that, those were patched, we still had 7 more. And so it kept on going on like this. And then finally, we had 5 that needed to be patched after making the correction. And so the Mark, who was the father of ChatGPT, we will have him in one of our sessions. And I asked Mark, why is it that we keep on getting these kinds of results? Is because if we check the vulnerability of one system, you have to go through all kinds of analysis and diagnosis, and then you make the corrections. But then next time you try to also dig even deeper to see if there are any other vulnerabilities, and then after you make those patches again, then the system goes in even further deeper to continue finding the vulnerabilities. And so nobody knows what is the limit to this. And we did it the 4th time and the 5th time. And if we go to the 6th and 7th times, we will see if finally we will be seeing the end. But maybe when we have the next model, then we will still end up with vulnerabilities. So we are in the process of making this model so that we will be able to share this kind of information with the world going forward. And today, from prominent business members who are here today, this sheet is why we had asked you to gather this afternoon. So ChatGPT 3 has appeared in LLM, and then in an open model, there was a U.S. case and also a Chinese case as well. But the time it required for the open model to come out in LLM, it took three years. And then for image generation, and then we had the open model, the time required, it was about half. That was about, what, a year and a half. And then for video generation, for Sora, if you compare that, then the open model was even shorter. It only took 10 months. And now we have Frontier AI with a cyber model. And with this cyber model, how much time will it take before the open model comes up? Probably if we continue to have and have and have this kind, and if we go as is, then maybe it will be only 5 months. So we in the business community should be really prepared and have the right kind of defense in preparation for these kinds of attacks. Will it be possible to make that? I mean, it is something that has to be done immediately, and that is why I called upon you to gather this afternoon at such short notice. And so looking at, we just want to create a system where we will be able to defend the Japanese important infrastructures. And patch as a service, what we can do at this point, we have been doing really working frivolously for the past 2 weeks, and then we only have 50 people, and we will be increasing that to 1,000 people who will be able to do this, and we will be dispatching these people to the business communities, and these people will be training the people. So we will be preparing for these 1,000 people to go out to reach out to you. And so I have these 200 million lines as I have on the slide, and this is about 30G7. And so if you have any important things that you want to check as a priority because they are important, then maybe you will be able to check about 30 systems as a priority. So starting from the higher priority, we will be cooperating with you gratis. And so we just want to really defend the most important infrastructure for Japan. So this is why we are providing this service free of charge. And so now we have Son-san and Mark will be coming on stage, and we will have a panel. And then we will also be able to see the actual demonstration of the system, and also to see how the patch is autonomously generated. So we just begun this session, and I hope that you will stay with us until the very end. And thank you once again very much for attending this session. And now we will be showing you a demonstration of the OpenAI cyber demonstration. So while we prepare, please do remain seated. Thank you for your patience. Now we have OAI Japan CTO, OpenAI Global Head of Forward Deployed Engineering, Mr. Colin Jarvis, will be giving a demonstration. Thank you very much for convening. I am the Global Head of Forward Deployed Engineering of OpenAI and the CTO of OAI Japan. My name is Colin Jarvis.
Today, I'd like to introduce you all to Daybreak, OpenAI's cybersecurity initiative to secure the systems that power our world. Daybreak is not a single product, but an initiative that aims to help our customers stay secure end-to-end. It connects advanced cyber capabilities with the tools that many of your teams use today and the workflows that they rely on every day. On the left are our OpenAI cyber models, which power all the capabilities within Daybreak. In the middle are the product surfaces which you use to deploy these: Codex, our Codex security plugin, and our APIs. And on the right are the security use cases that many of you will use these for in your own businesses. These can be AI-assisted security research, generating a backlog of vulnerabilities and validating them, or maybe even integrating vulnerability scanning into your CI/CD workflows so that every pull request that your developers write is scanned for vulnerabilities. Importantly, in the enterprise, these security workflows require careful human and model collaboration, and they need to integrate with your existing governance frameworks. So what does that actually look like in practice? This slide illustrates the operating pattern that sits behind that idea. Security is not just about finding vulnerabilities. We can find thousands of vulnerabilities, but that might overwhelm your security team. A key part is then validating and prioritizing which are the ones that we need to deal with today and which are the ones that can sit safely in the backlog to be dealt with when we need to. Once we've validated them, those are just static code scans that those come from. We actually want agents to imitate our users and go and log into these applications and test them so that we know that these really need to be remediated. Then we actually write the patches, but we also don't want the patches to create more problems, create regression issues, which cause our production systems to go down. And that's where we have to build some kind of proving framework, so that we're going to test these live and allow our agents to validate the changes before they go into production. Ultimately, that is the end-to-end workflow that Daybreak is all about. The demo that you're about to see is aimed to bring that workflow to life. You can see here the user interface for Kairu Bank's mortgage lending application. Here I can see a customer, Mr. Avery Tanaka, and their details. And clicking through these various screens, I can see the documents they've uploaded to evidence their lending application. I can see a summary screen, which gives me some more details. But most critically, I can also log into an admin page, which gives me access to all of my customers and all of their sensitive data. This is an example of one of the places that Daybreak is designed to protect so that malicious actors can't break in and get access to sensitive customer data. We've built an example application showing how a kind of security scanning framework could be built with Daybreak. I'll kick this off to start with a deep security scan. At the bottom, you can see a series of Codex agents who've all been given skills that help them search for different classes of vulnerability, which might be authentication, APIs, whatever it might be. We have learned from hundreds of these implementations and given a base set of skills that these agents can operate. So that was the first step of our process. We've now found a bunch of vulnerabilities. But finding is just the first step of the process. We might find tens of thousands. How do we know that these are real vulnerabilities? So one of the things we've done with these skills is helped our agents to prioritize. So in this case, there's been 6 issues, and you can see a criticality assigned to each of those. At the top, I can see one of the critical issues in our authentication flow. If I click open, there's a problem with SQL injection, where somebody could inject some simple SQL into that admin page I showed you earlier, and they will get access to our customer data. The model has told me that this is here from going through the code base. And you can see here the steps that I would need to perform to reproduce that issue, as well as a suggested patch. But remember, the model might think that there's an issue from the code base, but we really want it to prove it. So what I'm going to do is click here. And what I'm going to ask the model to do is reproduce that issue for me so that I can see it acted out in real time. This uses our computer use functionality, where the model will imitate a human user and log into the interface and then attempt to perform this SQL injection. And what I'm expecting to find, unfortunately, is that they were actually able to get access to the customer data by injecting SQL into the admin page. So we found the vulnerability. We've confirmed that it is real. We're now ready to implement a change. So if I go back here, I can drag it into the to-do tray, and I could leave it at this stage for my human engineers. This is where your comfort with this Daybreak framework is critical. You need to build up your own governance framework. You may wish all patches to be applied by human engineers, but in this case, we're going to use a Codex agent to carry out that stage for us as well. I'm going to go back to the patch that I thought this agent thought that it should apply. And I'm going to actually chime in here as an expert human engineer, and I'm going to give it a bit of advice where I want it to apply this patch differently. So I'll save that and submit. And it made a minor change to this patch. So again, this is fitting within my existing governance framework. I'm able to give feedback to the model to help it do what I want it to do, but it is still moving much, much faster than I would as an individual human engineer. So now that I've told it exactly how I want it to apply the patch, I'm going to tell it to move forward and apply it. If I scroll down here, this bit is also auditable. So I can see the agent is logging everything that it's doing, and it's telling me what steps it's carrying out. And there's a key piece here. The model is carrying out the patch, but it's also leaning on all the controls that my human engineers need to adhere to write production code. You can see here that my unit tests have passed, and my regression checks have also passed. So I'm reasonably confident that the patch has been deployed successfully, but it's also not caused regression impact into our production system. And this is a key aspect. We need to make sure that the model is accurately testing its changes and replicating our production environment so that we can have confidence in what they're doing. This is a key part of Daybreak, of baking in an environment for the model to replicate your production environment and make sure that these are durable and effective patches that it is applying. So the last step here is to ask my agent to now test its work. So we now have a copy of the production system set up, and I'm going to, again, ask it to try and inject SQL and break into the admin interface. And what I'm expecting to see here is that we'll apply this, and it is successfully blocked. So this is a simple example of how you can implement a single change. But imagine thousands of vulnerabilities across your enterprise. That is where this sort of framework really starts to generate a ton of value. When you tune those skills of how it prioritizes, you can also tune the tests that it uses. So maybe it could have, if all of these tests passed automatically, we could have safely passed that through to production without needing a human engineer in the loop. But that is up to you to build the framework that you are comfortable with, and this provides all of the tools to do that. So hopefully, this is the vision of how we'll automate security at scale with SoftBank, and hopefully with all of you in the room. Today, hopefully you've gotten a taste of our shared vision of AI security with SoftBank. We don't simply want to use AI to do traditional work faster, but we want to reimagine how that security process gets work done. And in the past few months, SoftBank has been uniquely positioned to help us because they have been working with us to accelerate this vision into reality by testing us with them on their own systems as our customer zero. Together, we have the opportunity to establish a new standard for trusted AI in cybersecurity. We invite all of you to help us build it together. I'd like to thank all of you for having me, and I'll pass you back to the SoftBank team. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Then we will move on to a fireside chat with Mark Chen and Masayoshi Son. We will be setting the stage, so please wait a moment. Thank you for your patience. Thank you so much for waiting. So we would like to have a fireside chat between Mark and Masayoshi Son. From SoftBank Group, we have Chairman Son, and we have Mark Chen, Chief Research Officer of OpenAI. Please come to the stage.
For coming.
Thank you for having me, Masa.
Yes. Now, I know you are responsible for all the new models that's OpenAI creating. Is it an exciting job?
Yeah, it's exciting. And I think the pace has really picked up. And so we're seeing, faster and faster progress on AI research.
So you actually discuss with the model, you create the model, and the model is also making the model
Yes.
by themselves, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Isn't it sometimes scary that the model create the next model by themselves, but you may sometimes not understand every detail why it's coming like that?
Yeah, I totally agree. So we put a lot of work into safety and alignment of the models. And for instance, when we have the models reason, one thing we care about is we can interpret and read what the model is thinking.
Yes.
So there's a lot of safeguards that we build in just to make sure that the model is aligned with what you and I want.
Yeah, so you see how the model is thinking
Yes.
and creating the next step, blah, blah.
Exactly, yeah.
But
And
isn't it so fast?
it's so fast, but the interesting thing is it's like how you and I think. The model will get excited. Sometimes it's...
Model get excited.
Yeah. Let's say it's trying to find a vulnerability for
Yes.
you. Sometimes in the thinking, you can find the point where it finds something, and it's like, wow, I found it.
So
And it's
model said, wow, I found it.
yeah, it's very human-like in its thinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's almost like model is having its own emotion or excitement, whatever, sort of, right?
Sort of. Yeah,
Sort
it's
of.
its own way of.
Its own way of, yes. Well, so the model is evolving so quickly. The number of chips being deployed at the data center increasing dramatically.
Yeah.
Of course, it requires a lot of capital and power, but the number of chips per model utilized is increased. Chip itself, the performance increased
Yes.
dramatically. Model itself gets smarter. So what happens in 5 years from now? What's your view? How quickly, how drastically model gets smarter?
So I think one thing for everyone to note is that over the last 8 years, model intelligence has been predictably scaling up and up. And so it's not a new thing that the models are suddenly smart. Over the last 8 years, they've been incrementally on an exponential getting smarter. And that trend is probably going to continue. When we look at the research, all the ways to put more compute in the models, by pre-training them, making them their brains bigger, by teaching them how to reason, how to chain together all the knowledge, all of those things are continuing. And so we expect that trend line to continue.
But it's accelerating.
Yeah, no.
It's not linear.
Yeah, no, it's
not
on
linear.
an exponential. It's on an exponential. And I think when you talk about compute, right, I have a team. They're a bunch of hungry researchers. They all want compute because that's how they train and advance the capabilities of the models. And I think if tomorrow you gave us 3 times the amount of compute, we'd be able to completely saturate that. If you give me 10 times the amount of compute, very quickly we could find the right experiments to run. So, compute is this bottleneck, and we're seeing that, data center build out also follow this exponential as well.
So if the size of compute, the number of chip increased by, let's say, 100x from now, okay? Let's say in 5 years. I pick just a number. In 5 years, let's say 100x from today, the number of chip increase, each chip performance increased dramatically, and the model also makes smarter. Right now, let's say, this morning you are mentioning the model's IQ level is maybe around 180 or something, 100.
It's very smart. Yeah. So right now it can prove new mathematical theorems that have been unsolved for 100 years. And it's just a year ago, right? The models were kind of solving college level math problems. So if you keep extrapolating, the models are going to keep getting smarter from here. And one way we like to think about it is think about the amount of time it takes you to do a task. The models, their reliability, every year, you expand that by another factor. So last year, if the models could do something that takes humans 1 hour to do, now it takes 4 hours. And roughly the trend has been 4 times year over year. So, Next year, we're getting to models that can operate on tasks that take humans a day, and then we're going to go to a week, and then further from there.
So if the model's IQ level is 180, I haven't seen anybody who's 180 myself, but if it goes that much, smarter, 5 years from now, drastically smarter, and then it start to do something bad on cyber security, as we are talking today, isn't it very scary?
Well, I think cyber is a very interesting capability because we call it a dual use capability, which means that even though the models can get better and better at finding vulnerabilities, we can use that for defense
yes,
as well.
Of course.
Yeah, and I think the important thing is we can go and try the models and try to find the vulnerabilities before external actors can go and try to find the same vulnerabilities. So I think what matters is earlier access to the frontier models and also a lot of compute, right? If you have more compute as the defender, you're going to have a better way of being able to patch everything up.
It's like a bad criminal has a knife, and then police has a gun.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Right? The bad criminal with a knife, with a police who says has a gun and says surrender, hold up, right?
Yeah.
The criminal will surrender because he has only the knife. If it's opposite, if the criminal has a machine gun and we have only knife, we are in trouble.
Absolutely,
right?
we're in trouble.
So that's why we, as a defender, we have to have the best, most powerful weapon so that we can defend against the bad guy. That's a theory, right?
Exactly, yeah. And I think when we thought about cyber, recently I just talked about how the models were solving these 100-year-old unsolved math problems. And if it can do that, if you point to cyber, of course it's going to be able to find cyber vulnerabilities. And I think our models have been very successful at that. We believe we have a best-in-class model. And just like you've heard, it's finding tens of thousands of new vulnerabilities. And beyond that, we're also finding new vulnerabilities in things like Chrome and Firefox and all of these different settings. So they're real significant vulnerabilities.
Yeah. So it's going to cost to do the protection. How the companies should think about? Is it the cost necessary as a new life, or is it the investment? If this new situation did not come, the cost did not exist. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think cyber vulnerabilities have always been around, right? But I think what has changed in the world is now there's the ability for people to find them much faster, right? And much more cost effectively. And you can think about this. If the models are going to keep getting that much smarter every year, imagine you have a 180 IQ model that's trying to find vulnerabilities. But next year, there's a 200 IQ model that's trying to find the vulnerabilities. So they're going to be able to find deeper vulnerabilities. And I think, it's really, a long game, right? You have to make sure you patch according to the frontier capabilities. And then in the future, you have to apply more compute so that you can harden against the deeper defenses.
Yeah. So it's a necessary cost to keep the company running. Okay, so it takes a lot of expertise, and if you try to patch it, like in a bank, if you try to patch it, we find a vulnerability, try to do the patch, and then by patching, if the system stop, right? Then it's a real issue. In Japan, if the bank system stop, the chairman get fired. So it's a serious issue. But it's not just about a chairman. It's a society have a real issue. And so even if we find a code for patching, do the actual patching is scary. So we have to do the test before patch. And even we do the test, make a copy and do the test, and then decide to, do the operation. Once operation done, and then actually issue happens, then we have to crawl back, right? To undo it and crawl back and find additional solutions to be more careful. So that kind of thing cannot be fully automated. You have to, like a doctor, you get a lot of advice and solution, but the doctor have to decide at the end, do I do the operation surgery or not, right?
Yep.
So that kind of decision, still the human responsible have to judge and create a solution back, right?
Yeah, so I think the important thing to remember is finding the vulnerability does not solve the problem, right? I think, like you said, you're going to find thousands of vulnerabilities. Some of them are going to be severe. Some of them, really, you can kind of live and not really worry about. And so I think there's a broader exercise we need to do to really triage these, make it very clear which ones are the important ones to fix. And of course, we are putting a lot of work in our research program right now to also patch the vulnerabilities, right? It's not enough to find the vulnerabilities. You also want to be able to figure out how to patch it. And oftentimes, these are hard problems, right? They touch other parts of your code base. And we see a lot of similarities to, let's say, code migration, right? You just need to understand deeply the whole code base and be able to make something that's resilient and that doesn't cause another problem down the line.
So, patching is important, finding vulnerability important. You do it for your own company. Mm-hmm. But, I've been the CEO of our telecom mobile company for many years, and I have really experienced that our network, mobile network, telecom, get shut down when blackout of electricity happen in that region because of the earthquake. If the earthquake happens, the first power company get blackout. If the power company get blackout, our telecom stop, right? Even though our telecom itself is okay, because of the blackout, the whole mobile network get stopped. So infrastructure related each other, right?
Yeah.
Critical infrastructure all related each other. And so it's not just our company that we have to protect, the whole society have to protect, right?
That's why we're excited to partner with you guys. I think there's a lot of expertise that you can learn from applying patching to one particular environment. And patches transfer, right? Like we know critical infrastructure in Japan, it could be fairly similar from one environment to another. So part of the reason we'd love to work together is just take those lessons and generalize them across different settings.
Yeah, yeah. So even within SoftBank, we are now experiencing on the patching. Do we actually do it? Oh, it's very scary.
Yeah. Because you have limited resources.
Yes.
Right? You have to figure out what is the most effective use of human time.
Yeah. Okay, so now, how does this cyber attack with AI became so powerful? Are you using bunch of agents, do so many times, so many attacks?
Yeah. So I think really the trend with agents has been that the amount of time and the amount of compute power they use to think has also been growing exponentially. And I remember we were starting the agent program at OpenAI and the thinking and reasoning program back in 2020. And since then, the amount of compute that the models are using productively just keeps going up exponentially. And so you can think about it as the model is just, it's like a human, right? Like an expert human thinking for that much longer on how to break a particular system. And like I said, the task horizon is increasing by a factor of, let's say, 4 every single year. So now you can imagine it's an expert human spending a day or a week trying to break into a system. And that's where the power is coming from. 3 years ago, if you take that back, 3 multiples, maybe it's a person thinking for a minute, and that's not enough to really break into a system.
So it's not, my understanding, it's not just one task, one brain. You have a massive parallel number of agents. The agents, massive parallel agent, they are attacking from many different paths, right? Simultaneous.
Exactly, yeah. So agents increasingly are working together and can parallelize their compute such that, and can coordinate to solve one particular objective. And we expect that to continue in the future too.
So it's not one wolf, it's a pack of wolves working together, discussing together how to attack and massively, parallelly.
I think that's a good analogy, but that's also what you want defending your systems, because if you imagine the adversary, the attackers, that's the way it's going to be too,
Yes.
right? You're not going to have one organization trying to break in. It's a heterogeneous ecosystem. So
Yeah, so as the defender, you have to have a
yes,
massive number of agents come up with
exactly,
a solution.
a hardened system. Yeah.
And faster patching. The human coder cannot do the patching quick enough.
Yeah.
You have to use these AI agents to create a patching in such a high speed.
Yeah, and we're investing a lot of research energy just to make sure even when we're generating code for you, that it's robust to all of these attacks in the future. So we're kind of completing the loop there as well.
So what I'm really afraid of is that, these new trends get copied by other countries very quickly, as Miyakawa was talking about, very quickly, and they are open source. So it's not just one company or one country. It's open source, so bad guy can use the open source much easier, much more access, and many more different. So it's like a new variation of virus, right? They have many bad guys now has a many different tweak of different attack that they develop by themselves, right? So we have to have a much more stronger protection.
Yeah, I think it's very important for frontier labs to stay at the frontier, and I view that as my job, right? I succeed when we really push the frontier of capabilities and we push it with velocity. And I think when you talk to most research scientists today, even at other labs, there's some consensus, we're maybe 9 months ahead of, the open source wave. And I think that buys everyone a lot of time, right? It's sufficient. I think, if we go and we, really harden against frontier models today, it buys us another year of, peace of mind.
So we have to keep on running.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We have to keep on running. That is my job. Keep on running with the model.
Keep on running more compute.
Of course, yeah.
And it's our job to protect Japan, and your job, to protect whole world together, right?
Yeah, and we love to partner on this because I do think Japan is ahead of the curve. So one thing I just learned on this trip is Japan, right after the US, is the largest active user of Codex. And yeah, I think that really means that people are embracing agents here, people understand how to use AI. And I think we should use this as a partnership, especially as our nations are close, to harden against cyber capabilities.
And SoftBank is like a customer zero. That we did this vulnerability test, and then second time, third time, fourth time, we find new vulnerabilities. And that is something we did not know until we actually tried it.
Yeah. No, I think, we were talking about it this morning, and I think the analogy is correct. So when you think about why that's the case, I kind of think about it as a vulnerability is like an apple in an apple tree or something. And you say, you tell an agent, you say you have one day, pick as many apples as possible. So I think if the agent is smart, it's going to go pick all of the low-hanging fruit first. So you find a lot of vulnerabilities. But then you say, okay, day 2, I give you the same amount of time, same amount of compute, and go find more vulnerabilities. Now it has to work harder to find each vulnerability. And so it finds more.
Because the first apples around
exactly,
surface is all gone.
Yeah. So I mean, that is the way to think about compute, right? And the way that these models are going and exploring and finding problems.
Okay, so we have restless days. We have to keep on fighting to protect from the bad guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
And thank you very much. So with this, we end the special event for enterprises hosted by SoftBank Corp, SB OAI Japan GK, and SoftBank Group.